I see a lot of questions still online about keeping betta fish. As with any hobby and anything we're into, there's always conflicting opinions. At the end of the day, you can do what you want. It's your fish room, it's your aquariums, it's your house, it's your fish palace, whatever you want to do, it's your choice. But you should do some research, learn each fish, and get some general guidelines on keeping them, because not always what you want to do is the right thing to do. I want to talk a little bit about betta fish. So let's just check into some common sense knowledge on them a little bit. Let's get right into it. This here's my 20-gallon long. I divided it in half with the Life with Pets tank divider. This is a quality product, it works fantastic. As you can see on each side, I have 2 male bettas. I packed this full of water sprite. They love the water sprite. Bettas love to rest on things. You can buy those little betta leaves they sell that suction cup to the side of the glass, but they always fail and they always fall off. Water sprite is great for bettas. You can't tell right now, but I do have the Fritz Nature Box in this tank. The water was getting darker due to the tannins. But it'll come back and I can add more. Down here I have a 10-gallon female betta tank. There's 2 of them in here along with a couple Serpae tetras. The reason why I have these paired together is just because I was a victim of circumstance. I got some fish, had to move some fish, and the Serpae tetras, the longfin reds at that, kind of resemble a betta in a little bit. They have a lot of the same features and attributes as far as they don't swim real good. I was worried that because of the fact they kind of look like a betta, that the bettas would fight, but nope, they get along good. As you can see, the 2 females are just picking on themselves here. The reason why I wanted to make this video is, I still see a lot of people online asking questions about betta, and they might be new to the fish keeping hobby, and that's totally fine. My channel is beginner friendly, and I love to help learn and teach about any and everything that I know about and that I have experience about. I'm not going to talk about anything I've never kept and act like I know and be an armchair professor and hurry up and Google and then give them an answer and make me look like I'm a all-knowing fish keeper, because I'm not. Anything I talk about is stuff I already know about or have experience with. When it comes to bettas, there's arguments going back and forth. Oh, the little cups they come in, it's torture, it's abuse. Oh, you keep them in a gallon tank. Oh, you can keep them in a 5-gallon tank. Or I don't even like that. I keep mine in a 10-gallon tank. I keep mine in a 20-gallon tank. It may be a small fish, but I like to give them as much room as possible. Both sides are correct. Let's look at the betta in the wild. Let's see where they come from. What kind of environment do they come from? Bettas come in like a brackish water setting. They're in ditches. Not a lot of water. Not a lot of water movement. Bettas do not like a lot of light. They do not like bright light. They do not need a lot of space, and that's not just because the size alone, because they're small. It's because bettas are not good swimmers. They don't move a lot. They just don't. They'll be lucky to move a half of a mile in a lifetime, and that's probably pushing it. So they do not need big tanks. A 1-gallon tank is fine. A 1.5-gallon tank is fine. And they will be perfectly happy. I like to keep, the only reason why I have these 2 bettas, the male bettas that I showed you and the 20-gallon long, is because I had to split it in half. And you can't, obviously we all know you have to separate males. They don't call them the Siamese fighter fish for nothing. But I split that 20-gallon long in half, and they've been totally fine. No issues. The 2 females down there do pick at each other at time to time, but in the most part. That's just something trial and error. With any fish, you got to do trial and error. There is not any one magic wand that you can shake and say this fish will work with this fish. You're never going to have issues, or vice versa. Don't ever put these fish together. They're going to kill each other to death. Whatever end of the spectrum you're working with, every fish is different. The environment in your aquariums that you set them up in are going to be different from anybody else. For example, you cannot put two Oscars together. I've seen that and I've heard that. Well, I got two Oscars together. I put them in there when they were babies and they grew up together. And sure, Oscars can have some attitude and they pick at each other, but generally they don't beat each other to death, and they just pick at each other and been in there and they're just fine. It just comes to trial and error. You're going to have to try these things, and by trying these things you're going to learn, and that's going to make you a more all-around better fish keeper with more knowledge because you tried these things. Definitely ask questions. There's nothing wrong with that. However, getting back to the bettas, you want to keep their tanks around 80-82 degrees. They like to be warm. They cannot have flow. They don't swim good. They are not good swimmers. Those long flowing fins add a lot of resistance to their bodies. They don't move through the water very good. So if you add flow into your tank, you know it's gonna cause a problem for them, stress them out, sit around and do nothing all day long, and that ain't healthy. They need to move. They need to get some exercise. You just need some low flow, small filters just to filter the water a little bit. You may not even need a filter at all. You can put enough plants in a betta tank that will take care of the filtration in that tank. Me, I packed this full of water Sprite and one or two little other plants. There's some cherry shrimp in there, and they do kill the cherry shrimp every once in a while. Just be aware of that if you want to keep cherry shrimp with betta. I've seen articles and videos and questions about that. If you're going to put any kind of shrimp with a betta, they are going to kill one or two of them, or even more over the time they're in that tank. I've lost several of them, but my cherry shrimp keep reproducing, and I keep getting more, and it's good food for the bettas. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up a little bit. It just comes down to a lot of common sense. You got to have some common sense in this hobby. You got to research the type of fish that you are keeping. A little bit, not even a lot. It doesn't take a quick Google search. Say, if you're not sure about the fish, hey, this one likes rocks, this one likes gravel, this one likes a lot more flow, this one likes no flow. These ones like to hide. You got to provide caves, you know. African cichlids and bunas, they like the pH a little higher. Do you have to do that? No, but if you want them to thrive a little bit more, I like to give them an environment that goes back in their genetic code from years and years ago. They might not have been raised in that environment with the fish we get, but that doesn't change millions of years, or it's not millions, it's like hundreds and thousands of years of code in them. You know, it's in their genetics that they do better and thrive in a more higher pH environment. So I provide that for them. With bettas, no flow. They don't swim good, right? So low flow, right? You got to get something in there to rest on. They love to go up into the water Sprite and chill. Bettas like to just move around a little bit. They don't move much. They just move around a little bit, and then they like to wedge themselves into the water Sprite and chill out for a little bit. You can use nano tanks for them. It's not abuse. They're happy that way. I had one time kept a betta in a 29-gallon tank. But in that 29-gallon tank, I had a huge decoration with lots of hiding spaces in the middle. So he was in a mansion, but he enjoyed it because he had lots of places to hide. A lot of the space was taken up. They don't, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but bettas don't like huge open water spaces. That's not where they come from. That's not the environment they came from. They lived in ditches with low water, and they moved a little bit, you know, and so they like to have places to stop and rest on. They like to chill out. They're a labyrinth fish, so not only do they breathe oxygen in the water through their gills, they can also go to the surface and go and get air from the ambient environment, the air outside of the tank. They can do those both ways. They're very, very low maintenance fish. They're a perfect fish for beginners just trying to get in the hobby, not only because they're pretty and they're attractive and they're enjoyable, but You can get away with not doing a water change for months and months. As long as you keep track of your water and you're testing it at least weekly or bi-weekly and making sure you don't have any big problems, especially if you have lots of plants in there, helping keeping the ammonia and the nitrites low and things like that, they're going to be 100% fine. They come from stagnant waters, and Bunas don't need a lot of care. Okay? So yeah, small tanks are fine. Big tanks are fine. The little cups that they sell them in the stores, I don't like to see that either. But they're okay. They're going to be fine. That's the environment that they came from. Those little cups they sell them in are a little bit small, yeah. But there's people out there that take mason jars and fill them up with water for a betta and just make sure they heat the water. And there's a lot of little tricks you can use to heat them things for bettas, but they put them in there and they swim around and I think if you ask the betta and it could answer you, are you happy in this environment? One might say, yeah, this is great. Got my own little space, little area, I'm cool. Another one might say, yeah, it might be nice to, have a little bit other places to go other than up and down and around in a circle. I tried to find that happy medium. I don't put my bettas in huge tanks, but I don't put them in small tanks. You need to get that happy medium for the betta. I always ask people when people ask me what size tank would can I put my for example, how about this? Would a goldfish be happy in a 29-gallon tank? My answer to that is and always will be, would you be happy living in your bathroom in your house for the rest of your life? Would you? I wouldn't. Goldfish can get big, depending on the species, but most goldfish can get pretty large. A 29-gallon tank is not big enough for a goldfish. In my opinion, although that would be fine, a 1.5, 2-gallon to 5-gallon tank is big enough for a betta, but I like to give them a little bit more space. It comes down to preference. It comes down to what you have space for. It comes down to experimenting. There's a lot of variables. That's a very loaded question when it comes to fish. So I always try to find the happy medium. So my answer to the question with the bettas that seem to be still be a thing that people ask about and have arguments and debates about what size container or tank should you put a betta in, my answer is get the happy medium. Don't go too small, don't go too big. And then you're good. You're sitting pretty, right? 20 gallons, 10 gallons. I have never kept a betta in anything smaller than a 10-gallon tank. You don't have to do that. It's not a necessity, but I feel like they're happier that way, and that's what I like to do, and it makes me feel better. So, but to each their own. The little cups that they come in, that they sell in the store, I wouldn't recommend keeping them something that small. But some people do. Some of them mason jars aren't very big, or much bigger than those cups they come in. They're just a little bit taller. But anyways, I'm rambling on now. I just wanted to put a little video out about bettas and some general knowledge about them. And obviously those basics are no flow, little to no flow. They like brackish, dark water. But the Fritz Nature Box is awesome, and it's specifically geared towards betta and a couple other species like it. There's more out there than just bettas by far, but that's specifically geared towards bettas. It says it right in the box. You get your Indian almond leaves on there. They got them cones in there. Those wooden sticks. I can't remember what they're called. And they add different kinds of tannins into the water, which, by the way, is awesome because it has natural antibiotic properties, which is healthy for them. And it makes the water darker. They don't like bright lights, so let's get that light reduced. Let's put some plants in there that they can rest in, like a water sprite. There's all kinds of different plants like that they like. They like to hide. They like to be able to feel comfortable. Provide them some rocks and caves or little betta caves they make in there. Me, I like a natural look, so I do natural stuff with rocks and things like that. And so yeah, that's basically it. They're pretty straightforward. Regardless, I go around when I do my tank maintenance. I usually do the water change in the betta tanks too, so that's every 2 weeks, and that's way too much for a betta. You don't have to do that, and I'm probably going to reduce that because you're probably doing more stress to them by doing more frequent water changes is good because, like I said, they like stagnant water. They don't like, you just don't need to do frequent water changes with bettas. They're very low maintenance. So take this video I will. I hope it helps you out. Leave the comments below. If you have anything that you can tell me about bettas and your experience with them, let me know if you agree or disagree. I always like learning new things. You'll never get an argument out of me unless you tell me something totally ridiculous. But so you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll see you on the next video, and be safe.